Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from group 12. We are going to talk about culture in language and cognition. The first definition of culture. David Taylor defined culture that complex whole which includes knowledge, belief, art, morals, law, custom, and any other capabilities and habits acquired by man as a member of society. Historical perspective. An anthropological perspective. Throughout the 19th century, the predominant perspective was a cultural evolutionary one, in which different human groups were thought of as existing on a universal scale of complexity and sophistication. In the influential theory of Lewis Henry Morgan, society and culture progress from savagery through barbarism to civilization. This evolutionism underpinned a Eurocentric implicitly and its social Darwinist variants explicitly. Racist philo-cultural complex, which included the assumption that primitive language lacked the complexity and clarity of the language of civilized people. A psychological perspective, a cornerstone of the 19th century philo-cultural complex was the view that the non-European savage mind was less developed and more childlike than that of white Westerners. As Taylor put it, between our clearness of separation of what is in the mind of what is out of it, and the mental confusion of the lowest savage of our day, there is a vast interval. Next, linguistic relativity. The theory of linguistic relativity has its roots in European philosophy and cultural theory, especially the foundational research of polymath and educator Wilhelm von Humboldt, 1999, 90, and 1836, who wrote that the diversity of language is not a diversity of sign and sound but a diversity of worthwhile sight, in Trabant 2000. The more recent and most often misunderstood and misrepresented version is often referred to after its originators Edward Sapir and Benjamin Lee Wolf, and had its origin in Bayesian anthropological linguistics. Cultural linguistics. Cultural linguistics is a relatively new term for a field with a long history, from von Humboldt to its designation by Palmer, as a synthesis concerned with most of the same domains of language and culture that interest Bayesian ethnosemantics and ethnography of communication that assumes a perspective that is essentially cognitive. Next, cognitive cultural linguistics are now beginning to turn their attention to this field. A notable and important recent study by Liu focuses on migrant selves and identities in the Chinese diaspora population of Australia, employing method and concept both of embodied theory and from the formative approach of ethnography of communication. Conclusion: cultural linguistics is a relatively new term for a field with a long history, from von Humboldt to Palmer. A notable and important recent study by Liu focused on migrant selves and identity in the Chinese diaspora population of Australia. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. Sorry for all mistakes. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.